Aloha. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 30. My name is Christina Estrada, partner of Booyah Marketing, where we have deeper connections. Today, our returning honored guest is Suzanne Kellner Zinck with 30 plus years of experience working in mental health, specializing in holistic healing through hypnosis, helping clients quickly address the root causes of emotional illness when traditional mental health approaches have failed. Public speaker, author, podcaster, a mover and a shaker, setting souls free to live the purpose on purpose. How are you, Suzanne?
Well, Christina, very nice to be back on your interview.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. So, why would a CEO or a C-suite executive appreciate employing you over a state licensed therapist or counselor?
That's a really great question. There's a lot of reasons. Let's start with the fact that these folks need their information confidential. And if they go to the employee, whatever plan they have through their insurance, through their employers, they don't know that that's going to be confidential and kept away from their employers, number one, because they have these things called electronic records, electronic medical records, and electronic medical records are connected to all of their information to, everything else. It's supposed to be really helpful in terms of not having what we call polypharmacy in the medical field, which is what you see a lot of elders where they're taking, I don't know, up to 13, 15 medications at a time. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's supposed to stop that because of the drug interactions and things. But when you're a CEO or in the C-suite, you don't want anyone knowing your business, number one, because they do have business coaches and other mentors and stuff that work with them to help them to continue to grow and develop in their profession. But that's totally different than the work that I may be doing with them, which has to do with their personal work, meaning that these people may be really, really great at executing and being executives and all that kind of stuff, but they suck at family life. They
Mm.
spend a lot of time generally traveling a lot. They're not around with the family a whole lot. There's a lot of guilt that's involved in that. And that doesn't even include any of the problems that they might have had growing up, which put them in a position which a lot of these people are in because they had to prove mommy and daddy that they were smart to get their love because they never felt quite loved by their mommy and daddy. Not true in all the cases, of course, but in
Right.
more cases than you'd ever want to believe. And then the other problem is, unfortunately, a lot of the people in the C-suite wouldn't even come to someone like me because they're basically sociopaths. It's well known.
Yeah.
You have to trample a lot of people to get to that place. So, it's the way it is, unfortunately, if they climb their way up the ladder versus developing their own business and becoming
So,
CEO.
what type of work would you do with them?
Well, there's different types of work. The first stuff is to really help them, like if they're going through a really hard time, to help them to clear all that stuff out of their way so that they can get better with their management of all their employees that are looking up to them. Because that's the other thing, they're very large role models. There's very few people who earn as much money as a CEO. Seriously, they earn millions of dollars. And the larger the corporation, the larger their salaries, and then they have extra stocks and everything
Mm.
tied to their compensation. So they're in a very, shall we say, weird place compared to the rest of the human beings on the planet because no one can relate to them, right? And their problems, their challenges that they're going to have. Because how many people are actually CEOs of corporations? I mean, large corporations where you have so many people looking up to you and where you have to be a role model and you have to be on all the time. And, they travel and go to a whole bunch of other countries and companies to sell this, to help market their stuff. So they have like all these interrelationships. So they have they have to be the consummate professional. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the same kind of problems that we all have. So I help them get rid of those problems. The other
Right.
problem that they can have is sometimes, when you're in a leadership position, there's a lot of responsibility. And these folks don't really learn, a lot of them, how to communicate effectively with their employees or even the people who would be considered their peers.
Mm.
So I can teach them how to do that through neuro-linguistic programming communication. and the different, shall we say, language patterns in order to be able to help their employees to do what they need to do. And better than that, want to do what they want to do, create better teamwork, and that will build revenue for the business, which is what CEOs are actually paid for,
Right.
making every quarter a better quarter than the last revenue-wise.
Right. So the areas of their personal lives and professionally.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to deal with the personal stuff first if that's what they're having issues with,
Mhm.
because obviously if you're having personal problems, you can get moody or you can get kind of difficult to work with. Maybe your mind doesn't work as clearly, especially if you're feeling kind of depressed. Anyone who's been depressed understands the brain doesn't really operate the same as when you're not depressed. Or if they're really angry, of course, that's going to cause a lot of dissension among themselves and their colleagues and whatever. So we have to get rid of all that crap first, if that's a problem. And then we can help them with the communicating with the rest of the folks in the company, most
Got it.
especially their employees, because without your employees being there to support what it is that you need to do, uh, that's a pretty horrible situation. Yeah.
Mhm. So, do you have any case history you can share with us and how you helped a CEO or a C-suite executive in this fashion to give, just to give our audience an idea of how the work you do impacted this client?
Sure. Many years ago, I had a client. She was a special client, actually. She didn't want to see me. Her husband forced me to see her because her problem was that had kind of the ghost of her mother talking in her head, berating her, which is how she
Mm.
became a CEO in the first place, because she had to prove her mother was wrong, that she was never going to be on to anything. All right. This woman brings in millions and millions of dollars. They only have three big full-size houses, and they have one in Andover, Massachusetts, a very nice little suburb. It's 1922 Victorian house with all this beautiful mosaic tile work throughout the whole thing. And I don't know, it's probably 4,000 square feet. It's freaking huge. With a
Wow.
big and ground pool, very nice place. And it's about a 2-minute walk to Andover Center. It's amazing. And then we have another one in New Hampshire, which is a full-size house. And they barely use it, but they use it for skiing, supposedly. And it has every single doodad extra you could ever possibly want. Their full movie library on CDs is there. When I stayed there, I watched all the CDs, all the movies. I got caught up from the movies of the time. And that's a very beautiful place, like right on the lake as well. And then they have another house that I have not been to, which is right on the ocean in Maine, where they go for the summer when they're not traveling and doing other things. So there you go. Lots and lots of money. But the problem is that her father, at this point, was treating her more like his wife, who, as I just said, has been deceased for quite a while, even at this time, long ago when I worked with her. And her husband was getting really fed up with this whole situation. He says, "This is ridiculous. He's your father. You're not his wife. You don't have to do anything for him." She didn't barely do anything in her own house in terms of housemaking or any of that stuff, because she doesn't know how to do any of that crap. She doesn't care. She has enough money to eat out or get people to come in and cook, yeah, she can do whatever she wants. She don't have to worry about that crap. And her father wants her to make gravy. That would be what we know as kind of like tomato sauce for spaghetti. Okay. That's what the Italians call it. Any case, she didn't really want to see me, although she was willing to go see Tony Robbins over and over and over again, which is, I don't know how much, it was a lot more money than what I charged her to see me. I mean, like 3, 4 times the amount each time. And she didn't really understand that was NLP stuff, and that's what I do, but in a very different way than he does. In any case, he brought her up the stairs to my apartment that I was working out of at the time. And I was able to help her first to let go of all of the family stuff. So the parental stuff was no longer invading her or her new family. I guess the way you'd say it, not her family of origin, but her husband and her daughter any longer. And the ghost of her mother went away. Thank God. Then what happened was she had 35,000 employees under her, and she had a few that were really not that easy for her to deal with. But interestingly enough, side story around the same woman, at a time I was dating online, there was a guy who I set up a date with, and when I asked him where he worked, he told me that he worked at a medical device company. And then he told me the name of the company, and said, "Do you know this woman?" He says, "Yeah, that's my boss." I said, "How do you like her as a boss?" He says, "She's a great boss. She's a little 5 foot tall, really petite dynamo, let me tell you." So that was pretty interesting. So I guess she's a very, very good boss. In any case, I was able to help her to really better relate with these 3 or 4 people that she was having a really hard time with. And understand she had employees all over the world. I mean, the company was out of Amsterdam, for God's sake, which is why she was traveling so much over there. She had an apartment over there that I think was paid for by the company because that was the headquarters. And she had another thing going on, which was really, really weird, I thought, for a CEO. She'd have her assistant set up all her schedule, which is what you expect an executive assistant to do, right? Do your calendar. And she'd go abroad for all this time, and she'd go to all these freaking meetings, never time for lunch, never time for bathroom break. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You're a human being. You need breaks. Tell her to give you the freaking breaks in between so you can take care of your bodily functions. That'd be a really good thing to do. And she did do that, actually. So that was just one of those weird oddities that just came up, as we were working together. And as it turned out, she was really, really happy with everything. She's in a much different place. I actually just saw her last year. It was the first time in 5 years because we met up in Serbia when I was in Serbia when I had to leave Albania for my 90 days, and they were there for her daughter to be the coxswain or whatever they call them, the person who tells the rowers how to row the boat, the timing of it all. And they came in second. So it was like kind of cool. I stayed at the same hotel as they did, really expensive, of course. But it had all the wonderful extras that I hadn't had in a really long time, like a whirlpool and this, I don't like steam rooms, this sauna and all kinds of stuff like that. And a pool, of course. And it was pretty warm. So that was very, very excellent. So I could go do that. And they took me out for all the meals and stuff, and they took me in the cab to go back and forth to the races. I want the people to know that the whole world got along really well at the Rolls. And it was really fun because the families would bring the flag of their country, and they would put it, there was like a chain link fence at the top of the seating, right? In the bleachers, and they put all the different flags one after the other all across there, representing all the countries. It was really, really awesome. So anyway, she's doing great, and her daughter's doing great, apparently. And her husband, I believe, is very happy. So that is my case study that I really like showing because she came such a long way, figuring she didn't want to see me. But she has since actually, she had an au pair come to see me that she wanted to stay working with her when her daughter was younger. And the au pair didn't choose to do that, but we tried. And then she also had her daughter see me when she was having problems with other competitor people in the rowing business. And that worked out really well. So there you go.
That's wonderful. So, I understand you have a workshop coming up Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So, that's in about a month. Tell us a bit about it and what are you going to cover in it?
Well, it's going to be for CEOs and C-suite executives, of course. And really what we're going to cover in it is we're going to go deeper into NLP languaging and teach them how they can use the language patterns to really get people to listen to them better, to do what they want them to do, without the person who's taking the message in, feeling like they're being forced to do anything. Because if you understand NLP language patterns, you can honestly get people to come along with you. And you do it in a very, as we would say, ecological manner, meaning good for the client and good for their people. Or if I was working with a person, it would be good for me, good for the client, and good for the world. Ecological. I love that term actually used in that way because we want the world to be better for the stuff that we do in this world, right?
Yes.
And that will help them be like transcendent. A lot of things that are going on right now in terms of how people are running the companies, the CEOs and those level of people, they really are getting more involved in this kind of work, number one, even breath work and meditation and what's the other thing? Mindfulness. They're getting much more involved in that stuff, and even yoga to a degree, because they're finding that it's helping them be more calm and more even tempered and healthier. So that works out really well. So they're more open to this kind of work, which is really great. And transcending, instead of just being out to make money for every quarter, to actually do something that matters in this world with the companies that they work with. So all that stuff works really well with my value system. And honestly, I dropped out of corporate America in my 20s because I couldn't stand the nepotism. I couldn't stand the fact that they put people who didn't belong in jobs, and they didn't give me a chance. Even when I had a lot of specialized education in certain areas, in one situation in particular, a person got promoted to do training, and this person didn't know anything about training. And the really sad thing is that that particular company, they had an excellent trainer who had just retired after doing it for years and years and years and years. So I decided that corporate America sucks and I wanted nothing to do with it. So I stayed the hell away. But if I can help these people be more humane, right, especially to their employees, and do something that is important in this world, well, that'd be a really good thing to be able to do. And because I work for me, no one's going to tell me what the hell to do. I just do it my way.
I love
Works
it.
perfectly fine.
Absolutely. So how do people get in contact with you?
They can email me at Suzanne@dawningvisions.com. And that is spelled Suzanne @ dawning like a dawning sun, DAWNING, vision, sing a lot of stuff, VISIONS.com. And they put a little asterisk, and then you tell me why you want to talk to me in the subject line so I don't miss it, because like many people who own businesses, we get so many freaking emails from all these people trying to sell us stuff that it just gets outrageously ridiculous. So if you want me to see it, that's what you got to do it. 3 asterisks. And if I
Nice.
don't see it, you send it again and you go second time around with 3 asterisks in front of the second time around, which is what I do when people don't see my emails. And guess what? They actually do see them when I do it that way.
So any parting words you would like to say to the viewers?
Oh, let me think for a moment. You know, when we think about the fact that CEOs and C-suite people are finally coming around to becoming more humane, even though we see in the news a lot of, and we hear from a lot of people that they're not too happy in their jobs, it really is truly starting to turn around. So maybe there's hope out there in the world for the employees of those days, and we just have to bless our Creator for this change. It is much needed for decades.
Right on. Mahalo. I'll put Suzanne's information down below in the description box. Please click the subscribe, notification, and thumbs up. If you would also like to donate to the channel, we appreciate it. It helps us build our content. My name is Christina Estrada, partner of Booyah Marketing. A hui ho. Until we meet again. Aloha! Please come join us with Suzanne Kellner Zinck live Google Meet Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, November 11th, 2025 for the Leadership Language Lab. A hui ho until we meet again.